Welcome in, Lucky Lefty Podcast. It's a great Thursday. This is, you guys, man, let me rep. You all know I'm from Chicago. This is Spirit Week. Alumni here in Chicago, so we're repping my Morgan Park Mustangs. By the way, I believe two young gentlemen from Morgan Park will be venturing down to Notre Dame for practice on Saturday. Chris Burgess, defensive end, big-time athlete out of the Chicago area. I'm excited to chop it up with those guys and see them. I'm excited about this weekend, the pro day tomorrow, and then the second spring practice. We will have that practice report Saturday afternoon, and then we'll have a pro day report Friday evening right here, Lucky Lefty Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, CFB Nation, in conjunction with Irish Breakdown, all of our great content. Go to the YouTube page for the Lucky Lefty Podcast. Go ahead and subscribe, share. Make sure you smash that like button, hit the notification bell. Every time we post a video or go live, you'll know. It's the home of the misguided passion. We are the Lucky Lefty Podcast. You already know. We spin it different. Today, we're going to talk about Notre Dame's offensive hype based upon practice reports from all outlets and the hype video that Notre Dame put out. People were going crazy for what they saw in 39 seconds. So the offensive hype. Will Notre Dame be able to live up to it? Will Notre Dame be able to live up to the offensive hype that I think started the moment that Sam Hartman committed to Notre Dame via the transfer portal? It's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. We talked about the quarterback. We had Howard Griffith on from the Big Ten Network earlier this week. He talked about the importance of having a dynamic quarterback in college football, even though there are certain teams that have really good veteran quarterbacks that have dynamic players in depth around them. Which is Notre Dame closest to? Having a dynamic quarterback lead the way, or are they closer to building a team with depth? Because Marcus Freeman talks about depth constantly. He constantly talks about depth. How far does Notre Dame have to go to building a team of depth around their quarterbacks? LL question of the day. 1 year, 2 years, 24, 25. How long do you think it's going to take for Notre Dame to become a team of depth? All right. Now, I do want to get to this before, and Left is coming in momentarily. As I said before in the chat, we are finalizing the details and working on finalizing the details for our live show that we're going to be doing in South Bend the weekend of the Blue and Gold game. The way we started, the direction we were going, and ultimately where we ended up. I'm here to tell you that I am overjoyed with what we have. And when we finally make the announcement, we're looking forward to having all of you guys come out and support, because it's going to be a tremendous boost to the community in South Bend and surrounding areas. And that's something bigger than just talking Notre Dame football. You know me, I love philanthropy. I love mentorship. That's something I've been doing for over 20 years, especially with young people. So we're intertwining all of that into our live show and making an impact and taking it further than just talking about Notre Dame football. And we consider it an extreme blessing to be able to have an opportunity, and we can't wait to announce it. We just can't wait to announce it. So Left is coming in. I see he's in the background. I don't know if he's ready to be on camera. When I see him on camera, I'll let him know. I'll bring him in. But before we get to that, according to reports, Notre Dame has hired, and you know what? Left might as well come in for this part right here. Left, you rubbing your hands because you're just as excited as me
I am.
about how things are developing. And a lot of areas for us, man. We're extremely blessed. We don't run from how blessed we are because there are some things that have happened along this journey that can only be explained by divine favor.
Because it's just like this ladder. You see how the ladder going up.
Yeah.
I always take it with me.
Yeah.
Because we always elevating. You just got to plan it and then just climb to the top. That's what we get.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Left, from a cultural standpoint, the move, according to reports, ESPN, The Athletic, they all have stories that Micah Shrewsbury, former head coach or still head coach at Penn State, will be the next head coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. You know my feelings on this, Left, and I made it known on social media. I'm a Fighting Illini fan through and through when it comes to college hoops. Everybody knows that. Notre Dame basketball has a better head coach than my Fighting Illini.
Wow. Well, did we have one with Mike Bray?
No. No. Not this version of Mike Bray. Not that Mike Bray had gotten to a point, I don't know what has taken place, and kudos to him because reports say that he's actually being interviewed by other schools and has other opportunities possibly down in the state of Florida.
He said last stop.
Yeah, I think it was a mutual part in other ways with Mike Bray and the school. They knew that things had run their course.
Is he another 10-year guy? Been there for 10 years?
Look, man, I don't know how other Notre Dame fans feel. I thought Mike Bray did an incredible job with the basketball program. Now, if you want to hold him hostage because of the last 3 or 4 years,
because of his ring culture.
Yo, he was just in the tournament last year.
Yeah.
He was just in the tournament last year. And the run that he went on with Jerry and that crew, when you were there.
I was there. Yeah, it was a good coach. I recently where people had their opinions, but when he was buzzing with Jaron and Eric Atkins and all those guys,
right?
The girls' basketball team was the one we was on. That was like, man, we got to get over that UConn hump. We got to get over that UConn hump. But the men's basketball team, they was always giving us good seasons.
Yeah, yeah.
With Demetrius, my God, shout out to Demetrius.
It is crazy. It is absolutely amazing that they came away. And I said it on the show early this week. With all of the great coaching that was on display this last weekend in the tournament, it would be a catastrophe for Notre Dame not to come away from the candidates that were on full display in the NCAA tournament. It would be a catastrophe if they didn't come away with a big-time coach. Catastrophe. It's
not slim pickings whatsoever.
Bro, his first coaching job was at IU South Bend. And he's from the area. Like, what else do you want? NBA
and
pedigree.
We good with the hometown now. We
NBA pedigree. He's familiar with Indiana basketball. He can recruit that area, right? He has national reach. Absolutely, right? He has the DC area because he's gone and gotten DC kids that come to Penn State. Look, it's a great hire. Fabulous hire. I've seen him build multiple teams different ways based upon his personnel, right? He had a big guard that could post up. He went out. He got athletic shooters. He didn't get small shooters. He got Andrew Funk. Andrew Funk's about 6'4", right? He got Seth Lundy. Seth Lundy's about 6'7". Just said he's going to the NBA, put his name in the NBA draft. He's going to be okay on the next level because he can shoot the threes, athletic. He's 6'7", 6'8". He can guard. These are the type of players. He went and got the young man Clary from New York, who is, man, road runner fast. Lefty. He'll probably enter the portal. He might end up coming to Notre Dame. Let me tell you something. That transfer card is about to be maxed out because he's going to go out and get some transfers into Notre Dame. It's a great hire for Notre Dame. And we can talk about the cultural aspect of it. Yes. women's basketball coach, men's basketball coach, and the Notre Dame football coach are all of African American descent.
Look at that.
This, yo, for a lot
Now
of
all we
people,
gotta do is
for a lot
put
of
that,
people, that's huge. For a lot of people,
now all
that's
we gotta do
huge.
is put that cash injection, and now we talking.
Now, see, now here's the thing. Here's the thing, Left, because I don't know if you heard this. I don't know if you heard this. In order to get Michael Shrewsbury,
Mm.
according to reports, there was a $4 million buyout left. Hold on now. Here we go. Here we go again. Okay.
Wait a minute.
No.
Wait a minute. There's stipulations. There's not just a clean transition of power. This is a fine print, a big fine print. See, this is where we always seem to do it the wrong way. You know, when you're going to a nice dinner, you know what I mean? You want to get the nice steak.
Yeah.
When you go to Roof Chris, you getting the ribeye. You're not getting the fillet, the New York strip. You're getting that ribeye because you have Roof Chris. We have Roof Chris now. We trying to go to the back and talk to the chef, be like, hey, that steak in the back, though, what is that one called? No.
Right.
No. Get the market value steak. That's what's going to get the job done. Not why is the buyout happen to be in the way? Once again, because you know what happens when we get buyouts? We turn to good stewards.
Come on, man.
We can't turn to a good steward this time. What do you even call the opposite of a good steward in this situation? Because we can't be the good steward. This can set our basketball program to a national attention level. People will pay attention to Notre Dame basketball.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine that.
Now, see, this is look. Let me explain something. And people that maybe grew up in the same era as I did, you don't understand. Michael Jordan hit Chicago in '85, right? In the early '80s, bro, we had local TV stations carrying DePaul basketball, Illinois basketball, and Notre Dame basketball for free. We were watching every game.
Every game.
DePaul and Notre Dame played twice a year, home and away. Home and away. So, man, I've always been locked, man. David Rivers, Damon Sweet, Edgar Bennett, LaFonso Ellis when he left East St. and went down there. I mean, Lampier. Didn't go to Illinois. I was upset about that. Went to Notre Dame. Let me tell you something, man. Those were the days, bro. Those were the days. So I think Notre Dame basketball is a sleeping giant, bro.
Yeah. Just ready to just
I really believe that Notre Dame basketball is a sleeping giant. With the right coach leading the way, Notre Dame basketball can really take a couple of steps forward.
Because we always are going to be in competition and give good games to these number one teams that come into Notre Dame, or we always popping on the scene, making surprise wins or giving Duke a run for their money every year, every other year. So it's just like you said, a sleeping giant. Don't let us get a top 100 player or a couple of
them. Yeah.
And with a coach that's going to highlight our superstars and maybe chase after some of those guys in the transfer portal. With the transfer portal, even in basketball, it can change a team around. Look at Kansas State.
Right. Right.
We can do what Kansas State is doing this year.
Right.
Because the
It's
basketball is
crazy.
even more volatile, man. You get a team like Florida FDU and be going all the way. You know what I'm saying? And then next 2 years, you might not hear them for another whatever, you know.
Yo, that's crazy. So, like I said, man, it was one of those things, bro, where early 80s, the 84 draft changed everything, right? That's the Hakeem, Bowie, Michael Jordan draft, right? Michael Jordan hits summer 84, right? I think the regular season started the fall of 84, but Mike really didn't pop off in the city, like I said, until 85, like second half of that season, right? Going into the playoffs. And that's when, 85, that's when you had the moment in the garden, when he's going between his legs against Larry Bird. That's when the whole Jordan vibe really starts to take off. And up until then, bro, it was all college basketball. That was it. I don't know if you ever heard this story, bro. I blame Isaiah Thomas's mother, dude, for ruining what could have been. Isaiah Thomas had secretly committed to DePaul. So Isaiah Thomas was supposed to be at DePaul with Mark Aguirre, Terry Cummings, Teddy Grubbs. Dude, DePaul had a whip, right? Because DePaul lost to Indiana State in the Final Four in 79. So the 80 season was supposed to be Isaiah Thomas, Mark Aguirre, and all those guys coming back, right? Isaiah Thomas' mother was like, "No, you're not staying in Chicago. You're getting out of here," which I fully understand at that point. West Side, I get it. She made the best decision for Zeke and for his career in life. His life turned out the way it did for that. But that was really the buzz, man, watching DePaul and Notre Dame and Illinois. Like on normal TV, this is like before cable. That was just the blessing of being in the big market like Chicago. But Notre Dame basketball is a sleeping giant, bro. I think Digger Phelps grew Notre Dame basketball to a certain point, especially with the big time wins he had over UCLA and other big programs and the rivalry with Ray Meyer and then Joey Meyer at DePaul. They didn't play Illinois enough. I thought they should have played Illinois. And I think they played Illinois in the Big Ten ACC championship last year and lost. So those are local rivalries that could have taken things to the next level. But Michael Shrewsbury, man, look.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Notre Dame fans, if you have any questions about his coaching ability, just go watch how his team dismantled Illinois 3 times this year. They beat Illinois 3 times this year. And the first one was a blowout at Illinois. It was never close. It was close for the majority of the first half. But then it was like, dude, his offensive sets, his ATOs, which are after timeout calls, team execution, the way he builds around his players and can evolve based upon his players. He's an absolutely fabulous coach. Fabulous. If he can get the players to South Bend, they will win. They will win.
Do you think it'll take some time, maybe a couple years, like Marcus Freeman to get?
No, not with basketball is different with the transfer portal. You can turn a program around like that if you get the right kids.
Yeah, like it's only a couple years you need, huh?
Like instantly, right? New rule just came out today. Some new rules for second-time transfers in the portal, right? Because originally you could go into the portal, transfer, and then you can go back into the portal and transfer again. But they've eliminated certain things. I think coaching change was something that you could actually bring before,
right,
for approval, and now that's kind of been eliminated.
Oh, wow.
They just handed down the new rules, if I'm not mistaken, this morning.
Like, no, you sticking this one out.
Yeah. So it has to be something like dramatic in order for you to get that second for a second time to be in the transfer portal. So,
man, JT Daniels got away on the skinny.
yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. They've amended those rules, and we'll see how that affects things. But you know, you can always come up with, especially if you're moving closer to home, if you can come up with, you know, some a loved one being ill or something like that that affects your mental capacity in some way, form, or fashion, then more than likely that would get approved. Because I know a lot of players use that when they want to move closer to home and transfer back closer to home. That might be one of the reasons. But Notre Dame basketball is getting an absolutely fantastic basketball coach. I'm talking about someone that can teach the game and get the buy-in from his players. That's a home run. Now, whether or not he can recruit and get guys to come to South Bend, and this will be important. He just came from a Nike school. I told people, watch this hire in basketball, because the basketball hire, if I'm interviewing for the job, I need to know what the next apparel deal is going to look like. I would need to know that. I don't know how anybody else would feel about that. I know if I were interviewing for the job, I would need to know once Under Armour is done, where are we going? Because as Michael Shrewsbury, I'm coming from a Nike school. And this is how it impacted my recruiting. So that's important in my opinion. I don't know if that gives a clue to what might be on the horizon for the apparel deal, but we shall see. But it's interesting that they were willing to pay the $4 million buyout, that lets you know how much Penn State thought of him as a head coach. Right. That he had a $4 million buyout. Notre Dame was willing to pay it. I guess they're willing to pay that for a head coach and just not an assistant coach. So, but we'll see.
We will see.
We'll see. It's a fantastic hire though, Left. Fantastic hire. I got Coach Carl Reed is getting ready to join us momentarily. Before we do that, Left, there is tremendous buzz, bro. I don't know if you saw the hype video of the scrimmage yesterday that Notre Dame posted. People are going crazy, bro. They're going crazy. Like, yes, this offense is about to be epic. And we talked about it yesterday. I told you. It is, man, night and day. Think about this. And I thought about this after we did the show. I watched 4 legitimate college quarterbacks yesterday at Notre Dame. 4. I'm talking legitimate quarterbacks that I feel like can play Power 5 quarterback at Notre Dame. Drew Pine was the number 2 for 3 years, bro. Let's think about this. Drew Pine was the number 2 quarterback for 3 years at that program. And I'm not saying he's not a Power 5 starting quarterback. That's not what I'm saying. But it made me think, like, did they care about the quarterback position? Like, was there, like, any type of urgency for the quarterback room in Notre Dame, man? It just really made you, especially once Phil Jurkovec departed. It was like, okay, you don't have Phil. Who's filling in for him? Who's coming behind him? It's just amazing.
Who's filling in for Phil?
It's like, it was amazing that former staff allowed the quarterback room to even get to that position. But I'm happy.
Turn to Georgia?
Say it again?
To turn into Georgia's quarterback room?
You crazy, man. Lucky Podcast. Apple Podcast, Spotify. Man, you have been taking shots at Stetson Bennett for 2 years, man. That man has 2 championships and is about to get drafted.
He's gonna have a nice career.
Facts.
He's gonna bounce around a lot. and he's gonna go retire back at Georgia when it's all said and done. Man, I
Hey,
would.
dude.
I mean, I wouldn't even have went to the league. I would have tried to stay around the program until they put that statue up.
Dude, he is on the Chad Henne pro career route, right?
Oh
10
yeah.
years,
Oh,
10
yeah.
years, a couple of clutch playoff throws, a couple of Super Bowls,
Sneak
and
in some
money
big
stacked.
games on Monday night. You'd be like, he's
Absolutely.
still in the league.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to welcome in, man, a big brother to this program. We love him because we watch him and we pull a lot from him, from the things he's doing, man. He's been on the road. They've been running our brother ragged, bro. I'm sure he's happy to be doing it.
Yeah.
I have to ask him whether or not he's been
The
getting
Stephen A.
flown.
Smith
Right.
high school recruiting.
Have they been putting him in first class on the plane, or has he been on the road taking road trips?
Have you been on the tour bus?
I
The
know.
rival tour bus?
Look, Coach Carl Reed, you can follow him at Coach Reed Live on Instagram and Twitter. Welcome in to the Lucky Lefty podcast, bro.
What's up, guys? How you doing, man?
Man, how you doing, man? Have you gotten enough rest?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I get to be here in St. Louis for a couple of days, but it's been all good, man. You just covering college football, man, and so it's a great situation to be in.
Man, we were just talking about this when we started the show, to have the opportunity, like we all had our different paths, but to be at this point, how can you explain it other than, things being divine and just ultimately being blessed to be able to be in a position to talk about the game we love, our favorite team, and do it and actually be compensated for it. It's like, man, the business of college football is definitely booming. Don't let anyone tell you anything besides that.
If you take care of the game will take care of you. I was talking to a group of young kids the other day, and I was telling them that there's so many lanes to football. If you don't have to necessarily make it to the pros, you can coach, you can train, you can do media, you can become an agent, you can work in the recruiting department, you can be in the front office in the National Football League, you can be an official. There's a lot of things that you can do if you handle your relationships right. You'll be a good person. You'll be somebody that people want to be around. They'll find room for you in the game somewhere.
Coach, there's a big time recruit from your area that's going to be venturing down to Notre Dame this weekend. Some might call him the number one overall tight end in the country. This kid, I never see him attached. This kid is outside beating cornerbacks. He's beating safeties. He's beating linebackers. None other than Jaden Reddell, the tight end out of Missouri. Just talk about who he is as a recruit and who he is as a young man and what Notre Dame fans should expect if he does commit to Notre Dame or finally land at Notre Dame.
I haven't got a chance to be around him and spend time around him, but I have seen him play. You talking about a special talent, can catch the ball. So when you're dealing with a high school tight end, he just poses so many mismatch problems because of the size, the speed. Really hard for corners to guard him when he goes out, but also equally as tough for linebackers and safety. As a high school kid is probably a little bit unfair, but it's what you look for. I think that Notre Dame is one of those teams that uses the tight end a great deal. So he would fit in really, really well. Tight end, H back, motion him out. You can flex him. You can attach him. He'll be able to do some different things. Notre Dame is been really good the last several years on their use of the tight end, and one of the few people that still value that position because there's not many teams left that place a big valuation on the tight end.
Let's jump into it. Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and Coach Nick Saban. I'm not Coach Nick Saban, Coach Rick Pitino in basketball, who recently just took the St. John's job. The way they came into the programs in their press conferences, pretty much letting young men know there's a standard that I'm bringing with that I don't know that the current players on the roster are good enough to be here. And you might not be here moving forward. Some people think that's arrogant. Some people might think it's petty. In the new age of college athletics with the transfer portal and with other opportunities, is it just par for the course moving forward, or do you think it's just all about their personalities and what they want to do specifically?
It's always been that way. Um,
Mm.
I can remember, the stories of Chuck Noll taking over as the head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he said, the good news is that we're going to win the Super Bowl. The bad news is that most of you won't be here,
Mm.
and that was in the 70s, right? For guys who played, they've heard similar things. I think that people don't like hearing it publicly because the casual football fan doesn't really understand that that's how this business works. But anybody who plays the game, that's a player, they know that your scholarship is up for renewal every single year and you have to earn it. There's no more free rides. There's no more, being the 13th guy on the team and not contributing and keeping a scholarship. The game just doesn't operate that way. And so you can find a different coach every single year. I mean, would you feel better if he said it in private and then somebody reported on it later? Like the majority of college coaches, when they go into that roster, they're going to flip it because you don't have 5 years anymore to change a program. If you were going to have a situation where I'm going to for sure allow you to complete your 5-year contract, then you may have guys that would be more acceptable to keep those kids around and try to develop them and give them a chance to finish their degrees. But we're in a space now where that's just not the case. Guys are getting fired after 1 season, 2 seasons, max 3, and they're like, pull the plug, we done. So that's something that just has to be addressed. What we have to stop acting like in the sports community is that anything is more important than winning, because it's not. It sounds good in theory. Everybody talks about how important the educational piece is, but very few people are putting themselves in a situation where the education comes before the wins. If I gave you a coach and I told you, listen, over the next 5 years, right, everybody's going to graduate. Everybody's going to be on the honor roll. There's going to be no arrests made. You're going to have great kids, great men, but you're never going to win the conference, and the coach is going to be 2 games above or 2 games below 500. Nobody would want that, right? But if I flipped it and I said, listen, all right, now the coach that I got coming in now over 5 years, you're going to win the conference championship 4 times. You're going to win the national title twice, and you're going to be in the New Year's Six Bowl the other 3 years, but there's going to be 10 or 15 arrests, right? Only 40% of the guys are going to graduate. And, the kids might not be the friendliest guys to be around, but they're great players. Most people will sign up for that option.
Oh, that's the NFL.
Yeah, that's just the world. That's the world that we in. So people put a premium on winning, but they want people to think that they have a premium on character, but they don't.
Are we in a place where certain presidents that are begging, and I want to paraphrase this because I know there's a report out there. I think Dan Wessel had an interview with Jack Sporwick recently that just released, where he was urging Congress and the new head of the NCAA to do something about the current landscape in college football surrounding NIL and other opportunities, or else he felt like the NCAA would ultimately dissolve. I mean, you have a split camp of ADs and presidents that seem to get it in college athletics and have resigned themselves to the fact that the new world is coming and athletes are going to be paid moving forward, whether you like it or not. And then the old guard that are still trying to hold on to the way things were. And it seems like Notre Dame is part of the old guard that seems to be wanting to hold on to the way things were. Ultimately, how do you see things playing out, even with the new president Baker moving forward? He spent a lot of time in D.C. over the first 60 days of his tenure?
Well, the NCAA president is probably as powerless as a position in sports, especially when it comes to this issue, because most of the NIL legislation that's been brought into play has been brought in by the government, has been brought in by Congress and state law, that kind of over superseded what the NCAA was talking about. I think when it terms in the old guard and the new guard is just as something as simple as this. Most people don't agree in life in general. If we put 10 people in the room and bring up any topic, you're gonna have a very hard time getting 10 people to agree, or even 8 that would feel the same way. So I think that coaches, the really good coaches, the great ones, they will always adjust to the way that things are now, whether they like it or not. We in the game and it is what it is. I've been a fan of NIL in theory, but not necessarily about the way that it's structured and the way some of the things are being handled. But that is what it is. And I think you're going to always have people fighting for what was, and you're going to have other people who are going to be accepting of what is. Some people accept what is and fight for what was at the same time. So I think that you're going to continue to see kids make more and more money, and eventually I think it will even go to a model where the kids are just getting paid by the university, because that's going to be one of the only ways that they can control some of the stuff that's going on.
Which is funny because being under a centralized, I guess, institution as the NCAA, now you're talking about things being more individual based upon the institution, which a lot of people, I mean, if we're going to ultimately end up with these super conferences anyway, I mean, and it's really like that now. Like, Left, we talked about this, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw this clip, Coach. Stephen Bardo has his college basketball podcast. Earlier this week, he was very critical of the Big Ten because he pointed out the amount of money they make regardless based upon how many teams they get in, on with how much money they get for getting teams into the tournament. And he said, I'm not sure if Big Ten teams even care about building teams to win national championships, in contrast to building teams to win the conference and get into the tournament. And it made me think, like, how many teams at the start of the year, let's be honest, how many teams in the SEC really feel like they have a chance to win the national championship? Like, it's the best football conference, but how many of those presidents really are going into the season say every year, we feel like we're going to win the national championship? And I'm starting with them in the Big Ten. I don't know if it's more than Michigan and Ohio State, honestly. Maybe Penn State. But outside of that, I don't think other programs really think about the national championship when it comes to building a program. So things really are individual in a sense still in the current system.
So I think that there's only 10 schools in the nation that probably have a realistic chance of winning the national championship. So you have to start there. There's only 10 schools that have that type of dedication level. We talking Alabama, Georgia, the Florida Gators, Auburn, Tennessee. So that's maybe 5 in the SEC that are that committed to it. You got Clemson in the ACC. Florida State and Miami were great in the past, but I don't know if their commitment level is the same as it used to be. USC in the Pac-12, Oregon is pretty committed. Utah is committed in terms of competing at that type of level. Obviously, Ohio State and Michigan in the Big Ten. Penn State says they are, but I don't know if they really are. So you're talking about a very small number of schools that are providing the resources, the amenities that the players need, and paying the kind of salaries for coaches. I mean, you got coordinators making $2-3 million now at some of those schools. Like this, it's a completely they're playing a completely different sport than everybody else. Like
Right.
Ohio State isn't playing the same sport that Minnesota is playing.
Right.
You know, and Minnesota has a really good football program. They consistently winning. They consistently going to bowl games. Their coach is very sought after, but they're not in the same business Ohio State and Michigan are in. You know, and so you have to realize that and look at that and deal with that. And I think that you have to be honest about where you are and how does that affect you. And I think that certain schools know who they are. I think that Kentucky knows what it is as a football program. I think that Iowa knows who they are.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that those are very positive things for those programs because they're giving their kids an incredible experience, you know, as well. But when you talk about winning, man, it's only so many teams that are committed to it. You know, you may have one team that catches lightning in a bottle here and there, you know. But outside of that, very small number of teams. What Oklahoma, you know, coming from the Big 12 to the SEC. I know Texas puts in resources, but they've been a long way away for a long time. I mean,
well, you got teams like Nebraska that I'm sure that they would die for an opportunity to win a championship, but we know that they're not particularly close, but they are committed to it.
Nebraska's very committed, but you have to understand it's a lot of things different now than when Nebraska was great in football.
Mm.
You know, Tom Osborne really exploited the loophole of Prop 48 and was able to get some academic non-qualifiers in there that other schools couldn't take that he got Nebraska to be willing to take. You know, they had a tremendous walk-on program at the time, you know, and it wasn't as many schools committed to winning in it as it is now, you know. So I think that from that standpoint, things are a little different. I think Nebraska can still be a really good football team, but national championship level, I don't know about that. But I do know that the Cornhuskers, that they're a team that's committed. They would put the money. They've sold out every game. What, the last 30 years?
Dude,
You know,
it is
They
the
still
only thing in the entire state, right? That's all they have.
it's nothing like going to a Nebraska game either. If you've never been, it's something that everybody should experience. Win, lose, or draw. It is an unbelievable atmosphere at the University of Nebraska.
Lucky Lefty Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, CFB Nation in conjunction with Irish Breakdown, all of our great content. Go download, leave us 5 stars, leave your comments. We respond to all. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. Myself, Shaun Davis, my boy Left, the original Lucky Lefty. We're pleased to have Coach Carl Reed, CFB analyst, CFB superstar. He's become a superstar, Left. I'm just praying he doesn't leave us, bro. You don't forget about us little guys.
He's gonna take enough hotel trips. He's gonna land up in the right one, man.
Hey man, hey, I'm always gonna make time to come check you guys out.
No doubt.
Coach, moving forward, going into spring ball, there's a lot of intriguing quarterback battles going on around the country, right? Notre Dame has one, even though Sam Hartman is transferred. Marcus Freeman, his first press conference yesterday, said, "No, we have a quarterback battle."
Ain't no quarterback battle. Sam Hartman starting quarterback, but I appreciate the coach speak though.
Yeah, you're gonna try it.
Yeah, I respect it.
But there are battles at Georgia coming off a national championship. They have Tennessee. I think Joe Milton ultimately will probably get the nod in Tennessee.
They gonna pay Nico $8 million to sit up there and
play. I mean, that's interesting, right? Because you could have Nico and Dante Moore being freshman first day starters. I think the landscape at the quarterback position, other outside of Drake May and Caleb Williams, and maybe, Michael Penix and some guys coming back, but I'm very interested in seeing the guys that are on the come at the quarterback position across the country. I'm looking forward to that, Coach.
You got to win the team as a quarterback. That's the big thing. You got to win the locker room. The team normally decides who's the starter because of how they respond to that guy. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big thing. when I look at the situation at a place like Tennessee with Nico coming in and then you having Joe Milton, I think the problem becomes when some of these young guys are getting paid as much as they're getting paid, is there an expectation for them to play? And not just by them in their circle, but also by the people who are paying that kind of money for that kid to be on campus. I think it's very similar to the NFL. When you pay a guy, he's going to play.
Yeah.
You know, and so
Just,
we haven't seen that yet. But like, there are some very good quarterbacks who have waited their time. They were big time prospects. They were playing behind somebody great, but now it's their time, right? But there's an incoming freshman recruit who's making $2 million, right? And so
$2 million before he even puts a helmet on.
So how long does it take? How many bad throws can you make?
How do you manage that? That has to be tough, because I know, we heard
a lot of blind eyes.
Yeah.
It depends on how much control you really have. If you Nick Saban, you manage it just fine. You know, if you Kirby Smart, you manage it just fine. You're talking about guys that have total control of their program. If you're a younger coach who doesn't have the cachet yet, like you haven't won enough yet to be able to tell people, you know, that it's your way or the highway, it can become a tricky situation.
What about the guys like Wisconsin and Nebraska with Luke Fickell and Matt Rule, with all these transfers, guys coming in, and at programs where you're expected to win? This ain't Cincinnati, you know. This isn't, you know, the schools before. So I'm sure that quarterback battle is very interesting to deal with. Especially you're changing. I'm not sure that Luke Fickell's going to change the entire makeup of what Wisconsin's offense pretty much looked like the last 10 years.
Well, you know, you can change it. They bringing in Phil Longo at Wisconsin as the offensive coordinator, who's more of an air raid, spread RPO type guy. And it just comes down to, do you win? Man, everything is just about winning. If you winning, nobody will be talking about the system that he's running. They'll be saying it's great. Oh, it's about time Wisconsin got, you know, modern and caught up with the times. If they lose, people will be saying, I can't believe he changed the way we do things here. He got away from it. He didn't believe in the tradition, in the history. You know, the same thing at Nebraska. If you win, they're going to say, you know, you did a great job. If you lose, they're going to say, well, he didn't have the black shirts. You know, he didn't do, you know, they didn't run the triple option, you know. So that's just bad. You can't make people happy, man.
Yeah. Does Quinn Ewers have any chance this year? Or is it just
he got a chance? He's the incumbent, but he gotta hold him off though, because
you gonna hold off Peyton Manning's cousin? Yeah, right.
You know, I think Manning is gonna start for sure, but he's gonna get an opportunity to keep his position.
I think that's a more tied up thing than Alabama. I think the Jalen Milrose, Ty Simpson argument is going to be interesting because of how they even, from how Tommy would use Jalen Milrose, would be way interesting to see if they even take a direction like that.
So, you know, the Dame guys are really rough on Tommy, man. So,
what did we say?
You got you listen, man.
Coach, you never heard us say anything disparaging about Tommy.
I felt it in your spirit. I felt it in your spirit. So you got to understand, he's going to be working with a different level of talent at Alabama than he had at Notre Dame. And he also has a blueprint that he has to follow. It's not going to be a lot of his own imagination, you know, in terms of that. Like, Alabama has a way they play. They have a terminology they use. It's like driving a Cadillac. You know, I will say this about the quarterback position, and I feel very strongly about this. You got to play the kid who can throw the ball the best. You know, I don't care how well you can run, and that does give you some advantages. But man, we see it every single year. I don't care if you're a black kid or a white kid. I don't care about any of that. If you cannot drop back and complete passes from the pocket, and Pat, you're going to really struggle to move the ball offensively. Your running ability can be neutralized if you're not a threat to throw the football. And all young quarterbacks, middle school, high school, they need to be developing as passers. They need to understand how to throw the ball, the technique of it, the footwork piece, how to read coverages. That's what they need to be getting trained on. You cannot depend on your ability to run at that position. You got to be able to throw that ball around.
Coach, look, man, I didn't know you were coming in prophetic. I didn't know you were going to be reading us this morning and discerning our spirits. Man, we're neutral with Tommy right now. It's like, look, thank you for your service. Good luck to you down in Alabama.
Y'all gonna wish Tommy was there come October.
Ooh, Coach.
I don't know.
Don't fighting words. Don't say that, Coach.
Room rivaling Alabama right now. I don't see Alabama's main receivers standing out too much over our guys.
Come October, you will wish that you had Tommy Reese.
Well, we really only have one competitive game in September, Coach. There's only one competitive game in September.
This guy, your comments say he don't wish Tommy well. That's right.
That's a lot of people in the fan base.
Hey, that's crazy, man.
No,
hey, your boy Mike say I'm a clown. He don't like me because I like Tommy Reese, I guess. Hey, listen.
Mike, look.
You be back here in October too, Big Mike. Right? Tommy Reese must have took his girlfriend to the movies or something.
I think that's Coach. Took you to see Creed. You know, that was a long.
He took his girlfriend to see Creed. Hey, listen, but you know the thing is, man. Hey, and I heard something else right when I was coming on the show.
Yeah.
Right? You were hating on Stetson Bennett a little bit.
Coach, he's been hating on Stetson Bennett for 2 full seasons, Coach.
Stetson Bennett
2
found
full seasons
to flourish around a historically great teams, and if you in a position like that, I think we all could have put up some great numbers.
I don't agree. What?
Here we go. Get him, Coach. Get him, Coach.
If you talk to the coaches at Georgia, and if you talk to the guys who are on the team, Stetson Bennett's leadership and the way he rallied the team was a major factor.
And when you win games, everybody got leadership. The water boy got leadership.
But you got to have leadership to win games.
Yeah, but that's not because of him solely. Him and Jake Fromm are
it don't have to be because of him solely. He's a piece. He's a piece to the puzzle, but he's a big piece.
He ain't the big piece of chicken.
He's a
little drumstick.
He ain't the guy. If you took Stetson Bennett out of the quarterback room, they don't win the national championship.
They don't win the national championship game.
They don't win
the championship altogether.
What good is being there in losing?
Man, they look.
Okay, Coach. This is where my theory jumps in.
They could win it with Drew Pine. If we traded quarterbacks, we would still be 8-4, and Drew Pine would be a champion playing for Buffalo as a backup for about 5 or 6 years and go to Cleveland or something.
No,
you bugging, Left.
No.
Any other quarterback besides Drew Pine, I might have given you a fight chance.
Notre Dame was a dry campus, man.
Only by the rules. Only dry.
I thought Notre Dame was a dry campus, man. This is ridiculous.
Hey, Coach, look, I do think to kind of like take it a step further in the conversation. I do think a situation at Georgia, I do think there are other quarterbacks in the country that could have played on that team and won a national championship. I don't think he's the only quarterback that could have won a national championship with that team. Of course, you have the outliers like Caleb Williams and guys like that. I think
the only one for Alabama that if you took Bryce, they wouldn't. Bryce, not on Alabama, Alabama wouldn't be where Alabama was last year or the year before.
So if you flip-flop Bryce and Stetson Bennett, you're pretty much saying that Bryce will have 2 championships.
So
Bryce is at the championship. I'm just saying, take Bryce off of Alabama like you take Stetson Bennett off of Georgia. Georgia would still be what Georgia was. Alabama wouldn't in these last 2 seasons.
if you took Bryce off of Alabama, they might have went 8-4.
Right.
They were like he was a big reason.
Big
but that's
reason.
still a bad comparison. Like it's hard to compare because you're talking about what one guy did for his locker room. Look at all the top quarterback talent that Georgia has recruited over the last 3 years. Why was nobody able to beat out Stetson Bennett? Why were none of these 4 and 5 stars able to beat Stetson Bennett out in that locker room?
Left.
He's better than Carson Beck. I
could
have told you Stetson Bennett was better than Carson Beck. I thought that maybe Brock Vandagriff would be something a little. We'll see this year how he does, but I thought he was a little more dynamic coming into Georgia. But it wasn't nobody. Georgia.
What about JT Daniels the year before?
JT Daniels, I didn't think he was good to begin with. I thought he was going to go stick with USC, but when he went to Georgia, I was surprised that they even wanted him because they had Justin Fields at the time. But when Justin Fields left, I thought it was going to be wraps for Georgia. And then they got the historic 25 5-star bus that came in Athens, and then they took over from there. They got a lot of duffel bags going down there, man. We got to check those books, man.
Malik, man, at this point, with 2 championships, what would think?
Now it doesn't matter. He should deserve a statue at Georgia. He's probably the greatest Georgia quarterback ever. He can, just like Ian Book is the winningest quarterback in Notre Dame history. We can't take it from him. But we also know that all 3 of us could have did the same thing in those positions.
I don't know, man. I think that you're not giving respect to one of the most important aspects of the game, and that's having leadership. That's having somebody who can accept this role and rally the guys and hold guys accountable. When you go into a huddle with the type of talent that Georgia has, they got to respect that guy that's in there. And that's the guy they wanted playing quarterback.
Yeah.
As a whole.
And it's something to be said for the culture, right?
Yeah, culture.
The fact, look, he got those 5 stars to buy into him. He wasn't a 5-star. Now, I will say that. When you have the Nolan Smiths and when you have the Jalen Carters, like saying, like, that's our quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. He had the confidence of the team for sure. But winning the confidence of the team when you're supported and when you're in a position where you don't have to just don't lose the game, it's a huge boost of an impact to your leadership than having to be a guy like Baker Mayfield, who same type of route, walk on, whole story, but I believe his leadership was more impacted by him being a bigger part of the team winning. Yeah. Stetson Bennett, I think, caught a lot of.
They don't feel the way about Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma the way them guys at Georgia feel about Stetson Bennett. And I'm going to take you a step further. If Stetson Bennett was at Notre Dame this year, y'all would love Tommy Reese.
Yeah, I'm sure. He would probably be solid with us.
Coach, come on, Coach. Look. Look at what we had in the quarterback room. I mean, of course, that's okay. That's like saying I've been eating hot dogs my whole life, and if I had a ribeye, I would love to cook. Right. Like, of course I would. Things would have been dramatically different. Ultimately, I don't know if you're trolling, but it's a lot of people that are going to bookmark what you said about 6 minutes ago, Coach. I'm just letting you know.
Tell them to bookmark it. I'll be back.
We're going to have the first week of October. No, we're going to wait till the end of October. We're going to have Coach back towards the end of October, and we're going to wait and see how this plays out. And Coach, I need you, for the sake of business, I need you to be wrong this year. I just need your pronunciation to be a little bit off this year.
You know, I keep receipts.
Coach, are you going with Vegas saying we're not winning another game than we did last year? That we're still going to be was it 8-3 or 9?
They're at 8.5.
No, I really I think I like Notre Dame to win 10 games. I really, really like Marcus Freeman. I want him to be really, really successful. We need him to be successful for a lot of different reasons. But I want I'm expecting big things. You got Sam Hartman at quarterback. Sam Hartman is a great college quarterback. He's going to do some exciting things at Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame will be really successful this year.
Let me ask you something that we had a chance to ask Howard Griffith when we talked to him earlier this week. The psyche of Ryan Day in Ohio State. Their entire offseason last year was built on getting back to the Michigan game. And they get demolished again, only to be thrown a safety vest. They get into the back door of the college football playoff, play the game of their lives, and ultimately still lose to the national champs in Georgia in the semifinals. Mentally, the challenge that Ryan Day has on his hand to give a new target and get his team ready for this season after pretty much failing and missing the mark on what they set twice last season coming off the off season. What's the challenge for Ryan Day this year, especially replacing the quarterback?
Be a coach. You got to coach his guys up for real this time.
The challenge is winning that one game. So, at Ohio State, only 2 games matter. That's
Only
Michigan in the national championship. Those are the only 2 games.
Oh, you got to throw Notre Dame in there because that one matters. That's how CJ got to New York because he beat us. He beat us.
Don't. They'll get over him losing to Notre Dame if he's in the playoffs and he beat Michigan.
That's what he's gonna have to do. That's what they're gonna have to do. That's what
they're gonna have to come
That's what they're gonna have to do. After they're gonna take that L in September, and then they can beat Michigan.
Then they can beat Michigan. Whatever.
They can beat Michigan.
Notre Dame is gonna beat Ohio State.
100%. We have the better quarterback.
We keep receipts too. We keep receipts too.
And we have the better coach.
Where's the game at this year?
It's in South Bend.
Night game too. You saw what happened to Clemson last time they came to the real jungle. Real jungle.
Listen, guys.
Listen. Coach, don't. We love you too much. We don't want to do it to you, Coach.
Listen,
come on now.
To answer your question, he knows the assignment. He's got to beat Michigan. Nobody knows that better than he does, right? When you get hired at certain programs, it's a national championship program, right? So you're talking about they want to beat Michigan, and they want to win the national championship. They can get over you not winning the national championship if you beat Michigan, right? But you can't come up short in both. He knows that. So what do? You got to prepare.
Yeah.
And you have to look at the deficiencies of your team and what. So what happens is this: Jim Harbaugh has built his team in such a way that nobody plays the way Michigan plays. They're very rugged on the run. They are great on the offensive line with Shaun Moore. So, but Michigan may come up small in the playoffs because of a matchup issue, right? Ohio State is better suited to match up against Georgia or Alabama than what Michigan is, right? But you got to figure out how to get over the Michigan game because there's no guarantee that you would both get in the playoffs again this year.
Right.
You if Alabama doesn't lose to LSU on the last play of the game, you're probably not in that game. So you can't really let it come down to that. You got to figure out how to win that. But let me tell you something. He knows what the pressure is. But when you sign up for those kind of jobs and you're getting paid what those guys get paid, that's where the pressure comes from.
Do you think it's they have to recruit to beat a Michigan, or is it something where they have to get or just stay on the course of being prepared to win?
It definitely comes down to recruiting, especially in the trenches. That's where the mismatch is right now. Like, look at what Michigan has put out on the offensive and defensive lines the last 2 years. And like Harbaugh kind of messed around with the spread earlier in his tenure at Michigan, but now he's back to playing the way he played at Stanford in the 49ers, which is big O-line, fullbacks, H-backs, the ogre sets with 7 and 8 O-linemen coming in the game on short yardage, so it's a different deal.
Yep. So we have it right here. Breaking news. Coach Carl Reed is going to be our special guest on the Ohio State post-game show.
That's right.
Right here.
Listen, I will be here.
That's right.
We can't wait. That's going to be an epic post-game show because we're going to have to bring you on and you're going to have to accept the fact that
they had to put a running clock on Ohio State the way we beat them so bad.
Left, boy, I don't know, Coach Reed, Left is up on Ohio State boards every week.
Listen,
with something he says.
Because the hype is over. They don't have a generational quarterback any longer. Their coach is born on third base, and Notre Dame's stock is rising.
We have is a good football coach. Don't do that, Left.
Look.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
He's a good coach, but not against Notre Dame because we're coming with something different. We've out-recruited him so far, and where it matters.
Wait. Out-recruited him when?
And where it matters. The quarterback room. We have the better quarterback room going into this year.
Okay, he lost Dylan Raiola.
And you lose, you lose.
You got Sam Hartman. Coach, who wins the quarterback battle, in your opinion, in Columbus? McCord or Brown?
I just talked about this on my show. You say what now? Say that.
Kyle McCord or Devin Brown? Who you think?
Kyle McCord is going to win the battle. Kyle McCord is
in. And that's delicious for us because I take Sam all day versus Kyle McCord. And then you got to think Marvin Harrison's impact on the game.
So wait a minute. Left, please tell me you're not about to say you're taking Notre Dame's wide receivers over Ohio State.
No, I'm saying our impact on our receivers is going to be greater than the impact they'll have on his receivers because our quarterback is better. Marvin Harrison Jr. is not going to be on ESPN catching one hand tiptoe on the sideline because CJ's not throwing it to him.
So you don't think that McCord can play quarterback?
I don't think he can play as well as CJ did, which CJ is a number one bona fide pick of the draft, but it doesn't fall out of a tree. Kyle McCord is not CJ Stroud at all.
Ohio State has had a great run of quarterbacks now.
The run is over. The race is done. We just started our We got Kenny Minchie in the tank, ready to roll.
They said it was over when Haskins left.
No, CJ Stroud. I knew CJ Stroud was nice because I did the Elite 11 when he was a senior.
They said it was over when Barrett left.
It was only getting started when my dog Barrett left. He set a nice foundation. You know what I'm saying? Best Big Ten quarterback in history, arguably, with accolades and numbers, at least top 3. And then after that, before they had Braxton, hometown guy. And then they only progressed after that. They had generational talent after that, 50 touchdowns every year from all their guys. But Kyle McCord is not like those guys. Kyle McCord is more like he would fit well in our room.
Is Notre Dame gonna sell the game out in South Bend, or is it gonna be empty seats?
No, it's gonna be 70% Ohio State fans.
It might be a lot more. You're gonna see a lot more Notre Dame in the tailgates outside the stadium.
It's gonna be a full stadium. It's gonna be a full stadium.
It's gonna be red in the stadium.
Yeah, the color red might be more dominant. We keep it above.
South Bend is gonna look like a neutral site.
We're keeping it 100, man. Notre Dame fans will find a way to sell their tickets to the Ohio State fans that are looking for tickets for this big matchup. You can guarantee that.
That's right. We brought LeBron to their stadium when we came last year. LeBron never went to an Ohio State game until Notre Dame played.
Come on, yes, he did. He went to the Michigan game multiple times.
Well, I'm talking about last year. You think LeBron would have came because Ohio State was playing Minnesota?
But
no. He came because
it was a big look. It's a big game. Coach knows when Notre Dame.
I think it had a lot to do with his schedule, and also he's a pretty busy guy.
And it was Bronny's basketball trip. That was his visit. It really wasn't about Notre Dame. Notre Dame doesn't bring people out. People don't watch TV because of Notre Dame.
No. Listen, I think Notre Dame has a chance to have a really good team this year. I like Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman was one of the top quarterbacks in the transfer portal. I was really, really I was really, really happy for Marcus Freeman when he got Sam Hartman because I felt like you needed a trigger guy, right? But let's hold off on the Ohio State level expectations until they beat them.
Until we beat them, absolutely. But Sam Hartman came with a 3-game contract.
That sounds like what people said about the Clemson game last year. Let's hold off.
Oh, but you know that was
moving the goalpost, guys.
Hey, that sounds like Coach walking back. Now he's walking it back. Now he's walking it back. Now Coach is real confident about 10 minutes ago. Now he's walking it back. Well, let's just wait. Let's wait until they beat him. Come on, Coach.
Hey, listen.
Come on, Coach.
Listen, man. I'll come on your show and wear a Notre Dame hat if they beat Ohio State, man.
That's right.
That's all. Hey, that's all. We just want you on the post-game show.
Here we go. Here we go.
We're gonna let you know that's gonna be late now, Coach, because it's a 6:30 kick.
Yeah. So I'll send the hat early. I'll send the Notre Dame hat.
I'll be.
And we want. I want every ounce of discernment.
I just want all the fans that's in here in the comments now to make sure that they come in on that night.
Hey, Coach, make sure you have every ounce of discernment working in your spirit on that night.
That's right.
If Ohio State wins, I'm also going to have a therapist join us to talk to your fans. All right?
That's fair. That's fair.
That's fair because there's no excuse.
Therapist join me, right?
You're gonna have to because I mean we've convinced ourselves there are no more excuses for this program.
No more excuses.
We have taken all the necessary steps to address the issues needed. The main one was quarterback. We got that. Now we're leaving up to chance and opportunity, and there's nothing but space and opportunity with Marcus Freeman at the helm, and it's a home game. I mean, Ryan Day, he's got a
look, let's be honest, Left. They lost their 2 starting tackles. They lost their probably number 1 overall pick at quarterback, right? They lost, even though he didn't play, they lost their number 1 wide receiver coming into last season, right? And look,
their secondary is suspect.
If you don't beat them at home this year, I don't know what it's gonna happen. I just don't know what's gonna happen.
This is the year to do it. If any year, this is the year to do it.
I don't know what is gonna happen. So we have to ask him about this. The impact of Brian Hartline taking over the calling of the plays versus Ryan Day. I'm interested in whether or not one of the things that I'm incredibly wowed at how Ohio State running backs don't enter the portal because they are the most underutilized talent because the talent in that room annually is phenomenal.
It's huge.
And Ryan Day just refuses to use the running backs the way I feel like they should be used, especially with the big offensive line he has most years. Do you think they go more to the running game under Brian Hartline?
Well, I don't know that Brian Hartline is going to be calling the plays. I think Ryan Day is still going to be the play caller.
So that's window dressing is what you're telling us. Okay.
But Hartline definitely deserved the title and the opportunity and the pay that comes with it. He's been an amazing coach for them. He's been an incredible recruiter. You know, look at the receiver room for Ohio State has been absolutely
dynamite,
ridiculous.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's just a big time situation. I think that Ohio State has had some injuries at tailback too, though. Right?
That's true.
So when you talk about the use of the tailback position, I think that they've had to overcome some tough injuries. I think that they're still extremely talented though across the board. And then Marvin Harrison is top 10 pick talent. I mean, he's out of this world.
Easily.
You gotta deal with that, man. It's gonna be a good matchup. We'll see.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great matchup.
Yeah, Left. I'll be honest with you, Coach. Left has been, I love my bro. And sometimes the level of disrespect.
It's not
I
disrespect.
tried to back him off of Stetson Bennett for 2 years. And a couple of weeks ago, he was talking about he literally said this during the show. Ohio State doesn't have anybody we should fear offensively. I said, man, you have lost your mind.
No. I said Ohio.
Okay, what did you say exactly?
I said Ohio State doesn't have the fear of the receivers because they don't have the quarterback they've had getting it to them. I'm not as afraid. If CJ Stroud was on this team this year, coming in this year, I would still be worried at a high level, just how we talked last year. I'm like, he's like Kevin Durant. He's going to get his 35 points and do his thing. We just got to manage everything else, like stop the run, which we didn't. Now it's like they can run or pass. It's just not going to be enough because we have too much on our side that they can't account for. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, man, that 88 is a serious dude, bro. Let me tell you, if I was the Chicago Bears, I would call Roger Goodell and ask for a waiver to draft him at 9 to this year and just hold his rights. Next year. Dude, we're drafting him. Dude, we're holding his rights until next year. We're using 9th pick this year.
Listen. We're not even finna open up the Chicago Bears bag today. That'll take us down a whole rabbit hole.
Coach, don't start this Chicago St. Louis thing, Coach. I love Coach. Come on, man. Lucky Lefty podcast. This is the best show we've had, dude. This is literally just a conversation between bros. That's all it is. Hey, Coach, one of my listeners, Michael Parks, said, Coach, you have entered the home of the misguided passion. He said, I'm in my 35th year. We're all in our 35th year, Michael Parks. It's been 35 years since we won a national championship. So this is what it is, the misguided passion, a Lucky Lefty podcast.
That's right.
Coach, anything we should watch coming out of the spring? Because we expect the transfer portal to have some more entries after spring ball. Other than the quarterback battles, is there anything else we should watch before we let you go?
Pay attention to guys plucking more offense and defensive linemen from FCS and Group of 5 schools. There's a huge need. There's some programs that are missing a couple pieces on the line, and I expect for the offense and defensive line to be very active with this second window of the transfer portal because
is that a heavy transfer position?
Yeah, it's a heavy transfer.
Is that a heavy transfer position?
It's the heaviest position. Also, getting guys who might have played D2 or FCS to move up. You need plug and play guys. So, I look for it to be a lot of movement on the offense and defensive lines this spring.
Once again, Coach Carl Reed with us, Lucky Lefty podcast. It doesn't get any better than him. Anytime we have him on, he is absolutely the best college football analyst, college football superstar, 24/7 sports. You can follow him at Coach Reed Live on Instagram and Twitter. Please follow him daily because the jewels that he drops in recruiting, if you know any young man that's looking to get connected, get scholarships, they need to follow him. They need to connect with him. Look, that's the thing with me, Coach. I think the portal has really taken a bite out of recruiting and it's hurt the young men coming out of high school as far as their spots. But like you say all the time, you can find scholarships elsewhere and eventually work your way up to where you want to be.
So the last thing I'm going to say before I get out of here, I don't think it's hurt high school kids.
Okay.
I think it has properly placed them in the beginning, right?
Okay.
Because
okay, that makes sense.
Most of them aren't good enough to play at Notre Dame. And so what it did is it eliminated those guys. So instead of you going to Notre Dame, sitting on the bench, and then having to transfer to a school in the Missouri Valley Conference, you just go straight to the Missouri Valley Conference. Which
so
is
basically those top 10 teams are basically plug and playing guys that are transfers.
Because the best high school players in the country are still going Division I. Right? Because you're getting those guys from somewhere. But now, if you're in a situation, I think of a guy like Jared Verse who goes to Albany and gets 11 sacks, and now he's at Florida State. He's projected as a top 10 pick. Well, then you just got to do what he did, right? AJ Cornelius had no offers and went to Rhode Island, started on the offensive line, and now he's at Oregon.
Yeah, you could have went anywhere. Yeah,
went anywhere. So, those, to me, if you're a kid who really loves to play football, just go prove yourself and it's there for you.
Yeah.
But because you didn't get to go to Notre Dame or Georgia or Ohio State out of high school, that doesn't mean you got screwed either, right? Because I don't think a lot of guys realize how good you have to be to play at those type of schools.
You got to be ready to play now.
Like I tell guys, have you actually went to a game at Notre Dame and like stood out there with the guys? Like go to the Notre Dame Ohio State game and ask yourself truthfully, do you really belong in that kind of game? Go to the Alabama Georgia game and ask yourself the truth. Do I really belong in this kind of game? Well, most of the kids don't belong in that game, right? And
that's real.
I don't think that you got screwed at all. I just think that you didn't get a chance to cheat the system the way that we were before, where you were getting to jump in there, and be a practice guy. Now you're having to go. I got guys saying that slept on that went to Division II schools and still haven't started. So what are we talking about, right? So, you telling me that you deserve to go Division I, but you're playing at an FCS school and you can't get on the field, So you have to you have to look at it from a real and realistic standpoint. I don't think it's hurt high school kids. I do think it's placed them where they are prepared to go to initially, and they can play themselves out of that. They can play so well that they can end up going to the bigger program if they earn it. And football is a game where you should earn it.
Coach, that's why we love you. That's why we appreciate your wisdom. Once again, Coach Carl Reed, CFB analyst, 24/7 Sports. We appreciate you, Coach. We'll see you next time right here on the Lucky Lefty podcast. Follow him, everybody. Coach Reed Live at Coach Reed Live on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks, Coach.
And tell your fans when they come follow me, there's no drinking alcohol on my page, man. All right, guys. Y'all take it easy.
We love you, Coach. That's Coach Carl Reed right here. Lucky Lefty podcast. He's the best, bro. I promise you. Every time we have him on, he gives us the best content. Michael McCarthy, thank you for the super chat. Spinning out of control, my brothers. Love it. Hey, this is what we do. This is what we do. Left, before we go, I will offer up to you Coach Marcus Freeman. And he talked about the quarterback position. First of all, he talked about the comfort that he has as the head coach in year 2.
It's a lot more comfortable than it was day 1 of last year, but it's not going to be as comfortable as it is practice 15. It's still, there was times there I'm like, okay, what's the next, where we're going, what's the next period? That's day 1. That's day 1. And that's what I want our kids to understand. The same for me, and I'm the head coach, that this isn't my first spring practice, but you still have some rust in terms of exactly the flow of practice, exactly where your eyes are going to be, where you're going to be at this period. And so, yeah, I'm a lot more comfortable in my position, but at the same time, we got a tremendous amount of work to do like everybody else in our program.
Marcus Freeman talking about his comfort level. Will his comfort level impact the on the field for Notre Dame?
I hope so. I hope he gets more comfortable to where he's doesn't seem so wound up tight in the game when things aren't going right. Hopefully he's more comfortable to speak on it, be a little bit more engaged. I think he was just too cool for a coach that young. I think he needs to bring some of that recruiting fire to the field. Not that he's got to be over the top or screaming and yelling, but the same passion he has in recruiting where he's active and energetic and he's moving and shaking. Some of that should be on the sideline. I think he went into too chill mode of being too cool of the coach. Let everybody do everything. You just lay in the back. I think you got to be a little bit more hands-on because your personality fits that. You're not getting that Jalen Rose geometry type of hairline every other 5 days from Julio to just be in the back.
Right.
You need to be kind of communicating more. excited with your guys. Your linebackers make a good play. I don't mind you getting excited with them. I would love to see it. Him trying to take on the quarterback, not too high, not too low thing is like, you like Will Smith on the podium. We need some of that.
Lucky Lefty podcast, Coach Freeman also talked about the impact of his freshmen and what he's looking for.
Guys, it's just a balance. There's a lot on their plate, from the academic requirements to, the weight room requirements to study table to practice to learning a new defense. They put so much pressure on themselves, right, to come out there and be a starter because you were the man in high school. They need to continue to find a way to have balance. And that's not just freshmen, but a lot of guys on our team have the balance. You can't just come here and it's all ball. You can't, you got to have balance in your life and understand I have to put time into studying. I have to put time into nutrition and the weight room and all those different things. So there will come a time when those guys understand the defense or understand the offense and play really, really fast. I did see the wideouts make some plays today, which was great to see. The young wideouts caught a couple balls, and it's going to be good to see. In the progression of all those freshmen, and they're all going to be at different places on the road, right? And that's what I spent a lot of time talking to our team about. As if we're all freshmen, you can't compare your journey to this guy's journey. He might be a little bit ahead of you at this moment. But at some point, it's a process to getting where you want to go. And so to get those guys to realize, don't worry about praise, don't worry about criticism, don't worry about pressure. Just focus on the things that are going to make you a better player. That's really for the freshmen, but everybody in our program.
How confident do you feel that freshmen are going to see the field offensively earlier than they did last season in Notre Dame?
Hopefully it is. If they're impactful enough, but I do think that we have a lot of guys that are still unproven that are veteran, experienced guys like a Deion Cosley. I would love to see in action more. Our running backs, I would love to see in action more. Guys that kind of missed last year, I would love to see in action. So usually the freshmen that are playing early are the ones that's because it's in need. I'm not saying we don't need it, but I would love to see us whooping up on one of these teams like TSU, and then second half when the game's out of reach, they get in. Kind of how Alabama does it. Alabama plays all their guys. That's because they whooped the team in the first half, and in the second half you can get some rotation going. So hopefully we don't have to play freshmen in need. Let us play them in luxury. So if that can happen, I definitely think we will see some freshmen out there early.
Yeah, before you see the freshmen surging, how about the sophomores surging? How about Tobias Merriweather surging? How about the transfers?
Yeah, I'm trying to see that.
Crazy. Let's have everyone surge. Deion Solzi, resurgence of Lorenzo Styles. Right, resurgence of Lorenzo Styles. Deion Colsey taking a step. The whole room. The whole fan base is hyped over 39 seconds after one day. And the whole fan base is just hyped over 39 seconds of a hype video of a scrimmage. And like we told you, the quarterback room was better. It was easy to see. In warm-ups.
You saw receivers catch.
So have full expectation that the hype videos will probably show a lot more wide receiver receptions than previous. Because the quarterback play is better. Especially the corner throw in the end zone. You finally have quarterbacks that can make that throw. But we're not here to throw water in your fire, Notre Dame fans. We're just letting you know, understand why that fire should be stoked. Absolutely. The expectations should absolutely be at an all-time high for the Notre Dame offense. Quarterback left. Coach Carl Reese said, man, he appreciates the the coach speak, but we know what it is. Let's hear what Marcus Freeman has to say.
Challenge for Gino is that we got 4 quarterbacks in that room that all need to be developed. They all need to improve. And that's your job as a coach, is continue to find ways to get guys reps to help them improve, but also be able to have an evaluation where you can make a decision on who goes out first. But my role is going to be the same as it was last year. It's going to be that, myself and Coach Parker and Coach Gaduli, we're going to sit and we'll talk and we'll look at some of the statistics of the competition. But also there's there's another side of it is who makes the best decisions, who takes care of the football the best, and who ultimately makes plays is going to be important. But it'll be a collective group effort between all three of us to really at some point, be able to name a starter.
When Tyler went up on that booth and said, yeah, they told me last year mid-season before anything was even over, before I was even healthy, that they were going to bring in another guy. That's when the competition was over. That's when it was over. What did you tell Sam Hartman when you flew to wherever he was illegally before he was even able to?
Hey.
Before he was even able to leave. Okay, so
anything that was said in the previous 15 seconds is not connected to the Lucky Lefty podcast. It is not approved by Shaun Davis.
This is all
it is the allegations of Malik Zaire and Malik Zaire alone.
This is newspaper talk. This is stuff that was on the newspapers. I'm not
allegedly from the Wake Forest side.
I am not the reporter that first. So this is Googled information. Anyway, we're not doing all that to tell Sam Hartman in these behind closed doors meetings that we're coming to ask you to compete with Tyler Buckner. We're not. Just imagine that. Sam, an all-time great Wake Forest quarterback, could easily go to the draft this year. We're like, hey, what about competing with this guy that we don't know if he's going to start next year? No, it was a nice, and it should be open about it. Yeah, we did a nice handshake deal. We had to move some chess pieces around. We told Tyler before the year was over what we was about to do. So no, there's not a competition. However, Tyler's going to make an appearance because the expectation of what Sam was brought here for, we should be whooping teams by halftime. And then Tyler's going to get in. Yeah, all that. But we're not playing the quarterback roulette game because everybody's job will be on the line. That's not what you need to be doing.
The offensive hype after that 139-second video, I was like, oh my God. People are already excited. It went to an entirely different level after the hype video.
And it should be. It should be an entirely level. It should be exciting. But let's try the straightforward approach. Marcus Freeman's pretty straightforward, dude. What did he tell us last spring? Yes, Tyler's our guy. We're moving on. We should keep that energy. That way everybody knows their role.
I still laugh at people that felt like Drew Pine was the better option. That was hilarious to me. I was just like, I don't know what in the world people were looking at. Like, I don't know what you saw that made you feel like Drew Pine was a better option.
You know what they saw? The trust factor. the mythical trust factor.
Marcus Freeman. We talk offensive hype. This has been the biggest question. One of the biggest questions for most Notre Dame fans. What the hell is going on with the defensive line? What's going to happen? Marcus Freeman?
Great job with that group, man. You got some vocal leaders. Nana Asafo-Mensah is a vocal leader. I mean, raises the energy, performance of those around him. Riley Mills is being more vocal. Howard Cross, he doesn't speak a lot, but he's being more vocal. And so you're not going to replace Isaiah Foskey or Ameola twins. But what you have to do is try to replace their production. And I'm not saying it's by one person. But throughout the top 2 units, maybe 2.5 units, we have to replace that production. And I'm excited for the development of that room. I'm excited to see what your Javonte Jean-Baptiste and some of those young guys. I think of Aiden Gabayro and Anye and Tyson Ford and Rubio and all those guys, man. Donovan Heinisch, and you got to find at some point the emergence. You're going to use probably 8 guys for sure, maybe 10 And so it's going to be exciting to see the emergence of those guys. And there was something cool I saw today in the defensive unit meeting. They're going to kind of every practice day announce starters for practice and give guys different roles and say, hey, you're a starter today, and it's going to be kind of cool to see some of those guys that might be 2s or 2.5s now going with the 1s. Let's evaluate your day when you're a starter. So I'm excited to see the development of that group specifically.
Well, we are too, Coach. We are too.
There we go. 10 guys. There we go. Look, that's how you do it. And I think that he's right. We got a bunch of guys that are in the room that are good. But who's gonna be the guy? That's throw the one piece of steak in there and then see who come out full. Because how else you gonna figure it out? Make it a game,
Like what did Puffy say? You put me in a jungle butt naked, I'll come out with a fur. Who's that dude?
Be real competition.
Who's that dude?
Real competition in that D-line room. Because he's right. Everybody in there is pretty solid. But who's gonna be the one that we really worried about?
I think John the Baptist is going to have a nice season. Let me call Javonte Jean Baptiste. I call him John the Baptist because I think he's going to baptize quarterbacks.
That's right.
Him and Jordan Botello coming off the edge, I think they're both going to be formidable. But I want to go back to the beginning because what he said is important. Riley Mills and Howard Cross as your starters. That's a darn good 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
That's a darn good 1-2 punch. Riley Mills is more than solid as a defensive lineman. Howard Cross had his best year.
Yeah, and they're both very, very
absolutely
solid, very
absolutely. So now it is the emergence is the word he used. Emergence
breakthrough player
of the guys behind them, the Tyson Fords, the Jason Onyes, the Aiden Gabiras, those guys, Josh Burnhams. They have to come.
Donovan Heinisch.
They have to come, right? Because like you said, or like he said, I feel good about Nana, Riley Mills, John the Baptist, and Howard Cross. That's your starting 4.
Maybe even Burnham. Josh Burnham's in there somewhere.
But now, you got Josh Burnham. You got Junior. You got Maris. Like Jordan Patella. Like who is going to do what? And so we'll see. We'll see. A lot of people, from a talent standpoint, there's potential talent there. Now, whether it will become actual talent, right?
Yeah, who plays well together?
Potential is one thing. Whether or not we actually see the manifestation of it, that's an entirely different thing that's going to be left up to those young student athletes. Lucky Lefty Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, CFB Nation in conjunction with Irish Breakdown. We thank you guys so much. Great show today. This was truly a great show. Great show. No show tomorrow at 11. That will be in the midst of the pro day. I will be at the pro day tomorrow, and we will have a pro day show tomorrow evening. Left, I should be back in Chicago at about 3:00.
All right. Sounds good.
I should be back in Chicago about 3:00. So we'll shoot for somewhere around mid. We will have a pro day show around that time. You know what time it is, Left.
Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty historic Petty Junction?
Petty Junction, pettiest story of the day, brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com, the premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. This is real life. The petty train is real life, Left. But I'm putting somebody that's fictional on the petty train. That goddamn Louis. Louis got to go on the petty
Yeah,
train.
so,
Louis got to go on the petty train for eternity.
Yeah, eternity.
Eternity.
What is that? She's the reason why Season 6 is even a thing. Look, I'm not saying nothing should have happened to her, but I ain't saying I would be sad if it did.
No, something should have happened to her.
Something should have happened to her. Franklin had it right when he left the first time.
Yes.
He said, tell them, and you better pray they do it quick because they ain't finna get you right if you don't.
They're going to get you right.
The cop in there passed out in the car, and you wouldn't pick him up. Come on.
My man, little DJ Quick in there was about to, he was about to let it ride, shoot the club up, wasn't he? Little DJ Quick had his
little moment. So I'm like, man, Louis, man.
She's trying to protect this dude like they got a secret child together or something.
I'm like, man, I would have been, if you even, that's what I'm saying. She wasn't right in that place anyway. Jerome done broke it down to her. He said, listen, I'm
it's
doing
not worth it.
Or without you. I'm not, and what she do the next morning? I just need a little more time. I'm like, what? What?
A little
more time. Man, you don't get the. So, she ruined the love I had for her at first, because even Franklin was done with her. You like, man, please. Man, please. Is she still talking? She was talking stuff the whole time.
The whole time.
Man,
the excuse she gave Jerome, bro.
What's crazy?
My self-worth. Your self-worth.
Self-worth? All this over your self-worth? Really? All of this? Because
people dying because of your self-worth.
Because they calling me instead of you. Really? Because I'll show up to the deal without you, and they want to do. So we a team. You selfish.
What did Cat Williams say a long time ago about self-esteem? It's self-esteem. That means it's the esteem of yourself. That's what it is. Like, that's on you. Don't be blaming other people when it comes to your self-worth.
Blaming Jerome for why they in it when he's begging her to get out of it. What do you mean? It's because they talking to me and they calling me. So what? If we a team, it's the same thing. Your self-worth. No wonder why Franklin should have did it a long time ago. He said Louis did it in the last episode of it should have started off with this episode. Just get her out the way early. What is that? And then she protecting the crackhead police officer.
Man,
that can't do his job.
Man,
had me tight.
Look. When I tell you I was heated.
I was heated too.
I was heated because as soon as you could tell by the cuts, the camera cuts and edits, like, okay, this cat gone. I just knew as soon as they flashed away.
Because Jerome was already out of control. He had lost his friend. He couldn't go back chill with his homies like he did. Beefing, trying to kill his family. He getting shot at all the time. He like, man, this is
for the birds.
Yeah,
so I'm going. I'm going to Jamaica in the morning. I'm going to Jamaica in the morning. I'm chilling. I'm done.
And I'm going with or without you. You tripping. And she had the audacity to be like, I just need a little more time because my self-worth ain't good enough.
Then she gets mad at him the previous episode for going out and she go ride horses.
And make herself an open target.
Open target.
He out there at least trying to chill with his boys. Selfish.
Goofy. Lucky Lefty podcast. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, wait. Jordan Poole.
Oh, for the spike. Oh, man. For spending $500,000 on the first date? Oh, my God. Go ahead, Left.
Listen, I don't see it's a problem. Jordan Poole just signed for $100 million, ain't it?
It's a problem, Left. That's a problem. And that tells me everything I need to know for why Draymond Green smacked them up.
Oh, now
that explains everything. That explains everything about why he got smacked up.
Man, that is crazy.
I'm sorry, bro.
You wouldn't spend that much
on anyone. Anyone.
What did it have to be that much to begin with? What are you doing on a date for 500?
Probably a private jet. Probably flew somewhere out of the country. Private jet, probably Mexico somewhere. Bought something private, rented something private, stayed for a day or two. Probably gave her a gift, and then probably took a shopping like a goofy, the goofy that he is, and probably ended up doing nothing but cuddling.
You got 100 million, Shaun. Are you even worried?
No. That hurt me. I don't care. 500,000 hurts. I don't care how much money I have, bro.
100 million, Shaun.
Listen to me. You just asked me the question. Now you can talk about it from your point of view. You asking Shaun Davis the question. 500,000 hurts either way. I don't care how wealthy I am.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to spend 500,000 on a date. Now that's something you do after you've been married. If you have that money, that's something you do for your wife.
Yeah. Okay.
On like an anniversary, like 10 years, 20 years, 25 years. Fly to Paris, have dinner at the top of the Eiffel Tower, something like that.
It costs 500,000.
Then take her to Switzerland.
Ooh.
Do it up there. Put some money in the bank for her in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Just in case. Then fly back. Right. Then go down to South Africa and end it on the beaches of South Africa and then fly back home. That's the type of stuff you do.
Okay.
That's the type of stuff you do for the missus. Man, $500,000 on our first date.
It is Ice Spice, though.
All right, man. Come on, man. Man, you can do.
I don't know,
that's why wealthy people stay wealthy.
Okay.
And the poor people stay poor.
But wealthy people buy nice stuff too.
No, I didn't say they don't. But if you ask a wealthy person, does it hurt when they cut the checks? I guarantee you they say, yeah, it still hurts. Even though I have it, it still hurts. Absolutely. Absolutely. Get the heck out of here.
He said, ain't no spice that good.
Man, none at all. None. Did she put on a private concert as part of this?
Look, Beyonce got paid what, $40 million to do a private show in Dubai or something like that.
Man, Lucky Lefty podcast, man. $500,000. That goofy dude up. Man, Draymond, smack that dude up again. We out of here. See you tomorrow.